Hi, this is John from Martellus Industries. I've been sharing some videos with you about fire making, and I wanted to talk about making a fire nest and different materials that you can use. Before we talk about that, I would like to say some things about the uses of fire in the wilderness. Fire is not a necessity to survival. It is a very useful tool, however. Fire can keep you warm, it can dry out your clothes if you're wet, it can cook your food, which reduces bacteria and parasites, and it also starts to break down the food and make it easier to digest. It can be used to purify your water, which can be very important. Fire also has a very strong psychological effect on anyone that's surviving in the wilderness. If you are successful at making a fire, you will feel like you can do anything to survive the situation that you're in. If you are in the wilderness, your first priority should not be to build a fire. However, it is tempting to think so. Your first priority is to find shelter, because more than any fire, shelter will keep you warm and dry. Second, your priority should be water. You need a source of water if you don't already have water with you. Your third priority will be food. And lastly, fire. Now let's look at some fire nest making materials.
Here are some of the materials that I use commonly to build my fire nest. Here I have dry grass, some dried bracken fern, and those usually will make up the bulk of my fire nest. Then it's good to have some other additions to it, some other highly flammable materials. Usually those are fluffy and fibrous. So here I have cattail seed, and it will catch a spark and it will burn rapidly and help to ignite the rest of your fire nest. Here I have thistle seed, and that will work similarly to the cattail seed. Over here I have some leftover scraps from a project I was working on. These are jute fibers, also known as burlap. So if you have some burlap sack material, you can shred it, and this makes a great fire nest, either as an addition or as the bulk of your fire nest. This is dryer lint, which is highly flammable, and I don't usually use this because it's an artificial material, but it will burn and ignite your fire nest. And then over here I have some charred material, in this case char cloth, which we'll talk about in another video. That's a great addition to any fire nest. So to construct your fire nest, usually you start off with your base, in this case dry grass, and you're going to wrap it and weave it until it makes kind of a little bird nest. Now in the center of this, it's good to shred some of your dry materials. Then that way it will catch fire easier. So you take whatever material you've got and you start to break it down and rub it together and grind it. Okay. And all of that fraying and shredding, that's going to add to the flammability of your material. So that's good stuff. Rub it together, shred it all up. I like to put that in the middle of my fire nest, just like that. Then I might add some of this thistle seed in the middle. And if I'm going to use char cloth, grab one of these char cloth patches, stick it right there on top. But if I have my ember here in the middle, whether it's on my char cloth or from my bow drill, I'm going to fold that inside about like that, not smothering it, but I want to encapsulate the heat, and then I can start blowing on it right in the middle. Hold it up a little bit so it's not releasing its smoke right into your face, and probably face downwind with this, and start blowing on it, and you'll get a lot of smoke, and then you'll have a little ignition, and off it goes. It's not always possible to collect dry materials Sometimes you'll have to cut green grass or some green fern, or cut them when they're damp, and some planning ahead will really help you out here. Once you cut your material, whether it's green or damp, if it's still wet in some manner, I like to stick it in a stuff sack like this one here. So this is my tinder sack. I'll put my material that I have collected in this bag ahead of time, and within a few days, if I keep the sack dry, the material will dry out in there, and then it will be ready to use in my fire nest.
Where's all the food here? Yeah, I'm hungry.
Yeah, where's all the food? Maybe if the little red hen had some helpers, then there would be more food.